Hello there, my name is Martin Henley. This is the Effective Marketing Company YouTube channel, and this is, I think, we're up to episode number 28 of my Talk Marketing series. If you've spent any time here at all, you will know that I am on a mission to support you by giving you everything you need to be successful in your business. For me, there's only one way to be successful in your business, that's through your sales and marketing. So not only am I here giving you everything you could possibly need, I'm also dragging in everyone I can find, can convince to draw from them everything they need as well. So today's guest is a techie turned delivery manager turned sales manager, business development director. He's been customer facing now for 10 years. Currently, he is accelerating business growth through data-driven digital transformation as business development director for Softelligence. He was referred to us by Ben Bennett, who tells me that he is an amazing networker and hilariously funny. So no pressure whatsoever. Today's guest is Robbie Bhatti. Good morning, Robbie.
Good morning, Martin. How are you?
I am extraordinarily well, thank you. How are you?
It's Friday, the sun's shining. It's Saturday, Sunday. Bring it on.
Bring it on. Good. Are you trying not to be hilariously funny now because Ben told me you were hilariously funny?
Uh, I think your true personality comes out, so you can only pretend to be something that you're not.
Okay.
I'm trying to be serious, though. Yeah,
Okay, good. All right, let's see how we go with that. Okay, cool.
sure.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I appreciate that you are incredibly busy because we've rescheduled this like 2 or 3 times. So I am really, really grateful that we are having this conversation now. So I'm interested in a couple of facets of this. I understand that you are a successful sales type person, proudly a sales type person these days, not your average sales type person. But I'm also interested in the technological aspect. I'm interested in the business growth through data-driven digital transformation. I'm
Yeah.
interested in that. So I don't know where this is going to go. I never know where this is going to go. I've got 4 questions for you. The 4 questions are the 5 questions. The first question is, how are you qualified to talk to us about either of these things, sales or digital transformation? What's the second one? Who are your customers and what is it that you do? How do you add value in their lives? The third question is, what is your recommendation for anyone who's looking to do better with their sales or maybe better with their digital transformation? The fourth question is, what should people read? And then the fifth question is, who can you put me in touch with who might enjoy to have one of these conversations with me? So question number 1, how are you qualified to talk to us about sales and digital transformation?
So, digital transformation, it's been around forever, really. Since we've had IT, there's always been a drive to automate processes, digitally transform your processes. So if it was paper-based, could that be automated into a system? I'm not going to go into the basic benefits of that. So digital transformation's always been around, but I don't know how you feel about this, Martin. So there are certain words that are endearing and certain words that are buzzwords. And I would say at the moment, especially within the lockdown, there's been sort of a huge appetite and conversation around the words digital transformation. So won't dwell or focus on that. I guess, as you alluded to on my sort of banner header in LinkedIn, is that company that I work in, we do digital transformation. So we can take these heavily intensive people-based processes or paper-based processes, automate them, drive value in terms of operational efficiency, or drive, positive value in terms of revenue generation. But I guess what's happened in the last couple of years, or a bit longer than that, is around data digital transformation. So everyone, we're all. What did I do this morning, Martin? I woke up, I looked at my mobile, I checked my bank balance, I went onto LinkedIn, I checked my email, sent some messages to some people, looked at my calendar. What am I doing? Our lives are so heavily based around our phones, around the laptops, the computers we use at work, but the sort of underlying glue, the things that brings it all together is that data. Why am I using? Why why am I subscribed to the YouTube channels that I am? Why do I have an interest? Why does YouTube show me more of content that I want? They're looking at what I'm watching. They're looking at what I'm liking or commenting on. Um, they're analysing that data and they're trying to give me more content that they think would make me feel happy or drive value. So again, very broad brush data digital transformation. Um, we don't sell this to everyone. I like to talk about what your company's famous for. Uh, that kind of breaks down into a value proposition. So, from a sales perspective, it's what you're selling, who you're selling to, why they should buy from us, why now. What we have a number of value propositions around advanced analytics. We predominantly in the UK, we sell these services to insurance businesses. So what does that mean to them? It means typically, when you start on any journey, you don't go big bang. You tend to start with a proof of concept or a discovery phase, or actually even a really small project. It can be quite, everyone wants to make the most of their data, but again, it's a scary big step for people to actually think, well, where do we start with this? So again, I think what we do in my company and what I enjoy is based on that value proposition, based on our advanced analytics proposition, we're trying to sell to a set of personas within the insurance business. So using marketing, go-to-marketing strategies, techniques, we're trying to find those people who we think we could deliver that value to. Sometimes it's the case that they don't actually know that the benefit can be derived. So when I was growing up, I went to university. It was a long time ago. There were some people who were using this thing called email. I, I wasn't curious. I didn't feel or see the need to actually have an email account. Um, so I didn't have one for a year or so. But I started speaking to family, friends around the world, and they're like, "I want to stay in contact. Can't always phone you because in those days it'd be expensive to do a call." And they said, "Do you have an email address?" I said, "I don't, but actually I can get one at the university." So that was sort of like an unmet need that I didn't realize I had a problem there, that I couldn't communicate to someone, but actually there was a solution out there. And I feel it's a lot like that with data. I think a lot of people think we'll give you access to your data, you'll put it into a black box, and it will tell us when the world's going to end, you know, when I'm going to die, how much money I'm going to make, when the next world war's going to be. But data science isn't like that. It's actually, people talk a lot about artificial intelligence, and a subset of that is machine learning. Artificial intelligence implies sort of like a godlike structure out there that you ask a question to and you get this all-seeing answer, but it's not like that. The machine learning side, which we kind of focus on in our advanced analytics services, I would hate to say this after having a few drinks. It would be a nightmare to be able to say these words. But again, with these things, it's around statistical analysis. It's asking questions and then using those questions to actually look at your data to see if you can answer them and find insight. So I'll give you an example in the insurance space because I'm talking really generic. Um, we we typically build digital quote and bind platforms for brokers. What does that enable a broker to do? It enables them to, an example, you want to sell insurance to people who have horses, equine insurance. You use a digital quote and bind platform for those customers to be able to get insurance for their horses and so on. Now, if that process goes through frictionless and seamless, the customer's happy, the broker's happy, um, job done. Um, what though if that what if you actually try to buy the policy and it gets rejected, or you get asked a lot of questions, you get frustrated with the questions, you just want to buy something immediately because that's the sort of world we're in? There you've got a problem, because from a broker perspective, they're in sales, they want to sell things. So if the customer journey is that it's not seamless and it doesn't happen in seconds or in minutes, they lose interest. They may not buy this from you, and they may not look for you for other policies that they want in the future. So, again, how does this tie to data and digital transformation or machine learning and advanced analytics? Uh, in sales, what we need to do is to have conversations with people, not about technology or about our company, but you need to understand what someone's doing. You need to understand that problem. And again, it comes back to when I was talking about email. I didn't necessarily know I had a problem there, but if someone had said to me, if you had an email account, this would enable you to keep in contact with your friends. I actually think, yeah, that's something I want to invest in. So around the data side, what I find interesting is speaking to people, trying to find their problems, try and find why they're actually trying to talk to me, and try and find that common ground.
Okay, so that's interesting because I didn't know. I mean, I feel like I should know because in the real world where I make money, I'm a digital marketing trainer.
Yeah,
So I've only really been aware of this idea of digital transformation for like the last 6 months is where it's popped up on my radar. And I haven't really known what it is. But what it seems to be from what you're saying then is previously we would have described this as automation. Is that right? It's about automating, digitizing processes. So not just
yeah.
sales and marketing processes, but maybe production processes or account management processes or those
You
kinds of
go to the
things.
bank. So I'm 44. Don't know why I'm giving that free data about myself away, but 20 years ago, people would I would get checks in the post from people, friends or someone. What would I do with that check? I'd go to my bank. I'd have that checkbook, paying in book. I would go to the bank, wait in the queue, and pay the check in. After 3 to 5 days, that check would clear, and then I could withdraw that money and spend the money. That's an example of a process that, Martin, you're probably aware of. Some of the younger generation who are listening to this probably wouldn't. But that process, that's pretty cumbersome. Why is it cumbersome? I could get a check on Monday night, but I'm working in an office Monday to Friday. So when can I put that check in? Can't do it till Saturday, but it's the bank's only open on Saturday from 9 to 12 o'clock, and most people are like me; they're working. The only time they've actually got is to go on Saturday. So Saturday, need to get up pretty early, put on some decent clothes, walk to the bank, queue for a long time, and pay the check in, and then the following week, I'll get that money would clear. That process has been digitally transformed. That was done many, many years ago. You've, we've eliminated checks now, but over time you could actually scan a check in using an app on your phone. There were actually self-service machines that are available 24/7. So that check that I got on the Monday night, if I wanted to, I could walk to the bank. There'd be no one in the bank. I could use my bank card as a secure way of getting in to swipe to get in, and I could pay that check automatically. So, digital transformation's always been around.
As,
Does that
as
make sense?
Yeah, certainly as long as there's been computers and IT in these businesses, then this has been the mission. Okay, I
Yeah.
don't know if you're the person to talk to about this. You can tell me if you're not. But it's been occurring to me recently. I might have turned into my dad. Somebody reminded me a couple of days ago, where it seemed to me that the digitization that we're seeing isn't necessarily improving the world. Like it might be making, like there are very clear benefits, like you've said. Checks were a nightmare, a disaster previously. Now I can transfer money in seconds. It will be in somebody's account in 6 minutes' time. So that clearly is a huge benefit. But I wonder, you see, I think too much about these things. But I think about when you and I were kids, and even just the idea of mobile phones, a mobile phone that we carry with us, you could be out. You could phone. I could phone your house. I say, "Is Robbie there?" And they'll say, "No, he's out," and that is the end of it. So this mobile technology is like robbed us of being out. But I remember when I met my wife, we would go off and have adventures. It would just be the two of us. If we ran out of petrol, we'd be hitchhiking. If we got lost, all of this stuff, it would be it would be an adventure. Whereas now, like you go on a date and it's a joke about how long is it before somebody's looking at their phone, and certainly into the second and third date, you're definitely both looking at your phones already. And then, I mean, I really do have issues with this. So maybe I
I
can
hear
just say
you.
this and it'll be out in the world. But I remember discovering music. I got into my late teens and I discovered the Rolling Stones and I discovered David Bowie and I discovered T Rex and all of this stuff that had gone on in the decades before. Do you know what I mean? Whereas, so I don't know if digitization is making life better or not overall.
I hear you. So there are pros and cons, like everything. There are some amazing benefits, like our mobile phones. It's got more processing power than the computer that took us to the moon. We've got that in everyone's hands. So in some ways, it gives you freedom, but in the other ways, I hear you, it doesn't give you freedom. I feel with all this digitalization, we should have more time. If we look
Yes.
at those Star Trek analogies, everyone's free. We've got all this technology, all this automation around us. We can be more creative. We can help each other. Society will get better. There'll be less poverty. The streets will be cleaner. But technology, I hear you, technology is actually driving actually some unforeseen behaviors. When I was growing up, no one talked about mental health. It existed, but really that word has only like come into the vocabulary. This is just my opinion, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but it came about. I see it's sort of a path of mental health issues with mobile phones. And actually, during lockdown, Martin, one thing that I've done is there were times when I was anxious. There were so there's a couple of sort of habits that I've changed. I've switched all my notifications off. Well, why have I done that? What if someone phones me? Well, I'm working from home pretty much at the moment. I'm talking to you on my personal laptop. I've got my work laptop here. Uh, if someone phones me or someone sends a really important email, do I immediately need to know that I need to actually respond to that? No. So I hear you. I don't feel like when I was growing up, we were bored. What did that mean? That would mean you'd have to entertain yourselves. You'd have to do something, or you can sit there and be bored. You had three or four television channels. There's nothing to watch. What do you do with that time? Me and my friends, we'd play cricket, we'd play football, we'd go swimming. We'd walk around the shopping centre looking at Nike Air Jordans, thinking, can my mum buy those for me and things? So you kind of took those boring things and actually did things. Now, though, people, I don't think you are bored. And look, I'm an example. As soon as I wake up, I need to check my bank balance. I checked it before I went to bed. What happened overnight that makes me feel compelled that I need to check my bank balance? Um, my wife
Yeah.
asked me, you've got this meeting at 8 a.m. today. Is it still on?" I kind of said in sort of a bit of a huffy way, what would have happened overnight? But she's right, actually, Martin. Something could have happened overnight, but in the old days, you wouldn't know. But you could then send me a message or something to say, look, I'm really sorry. I'm not feeling well. Could
Yeah.
actually do this. So it's digital. I mean, what we do with insurance companies, hopefully, it's about making the customer happy. But there are some other forms of digitization which I don't think are healthy. The fact that we are connected all the time, the fact that when I first started working, everyone would go to an office, and I was a software developer. I used to wear a suit and a tie as a software developer. Could you imagine telling a software developer now, working in a big company, look, it's mandatory that you put that suit on and you have an awful tie and
Yes.
stuff. So there are things that have changed, but some digitization, what does it? It means we can do things quickly, but do you then take that time to take stock, or do you then just go on to the next app or
Yeah,
respond to a message and everything?
and I think you're right. There is nowhere, I am never anywhere where I can't pull out my phone and be entertained. And so if I sit down on a bus or a train, or I'm I don't know, sitting in a car park waiting for somebody, or if I go and eat fast food or whatever it is, I can just put on my device and I can be entertained immediately. And I think, yeah, I think that's interesting. The thing that's interesting to me about this is when I asked you before we hit the record button what your specialist subject is, you told me it was relationships. And it feels to me like the digital actually is to a large extent replacing relationships, you know?
I hear you. So I hear you, Martin. I'm in sales, yeah. I have this stupid saying, but I'm going to say it to you. People drink with people, people buy from people. So, in the old days, Martin, we would come and meet. I actually enjoy doing that. The last couple of years, it's all been online. Um, I'm not saying you can't do innovation through a Teams call or through this means, but actually, when someone's buying something from your company, say they're buying a data solution from us, they're going to want to know what sort of person are you.
Hello.
Hi there. So I think, yeah, digitization is sort of replacing. Um, when I first would speak to customers or to prospects, you'd go and meet them, or you'd have to like do a phone call. But actually now that's phone calls I guess is something similar. The phone instead of a phone call, actually, this is better than doing a phone call. You can actually see the person, you can see who you're actually talking to, and see if there's any synergy between you. When someone buys something from you, are they buying from the company or are they buying from you? In the type of sales that I do, which is B2B, people have relationships with you. I'm selling the company and what we could offer to them. And actually, I find benefit in actually doing that by actually meeting the people. Your body language, the type of conversation that you have through this medium is different for actually meeting people. And speaking to some of my other friends in sales, there's digitization of sales happening. You're right, Martin. Digital marketing, using things like LinkedIn Sales Navigator instead of like phone cold calling, phoning people, or sending 1,000 emails. You can use tools like to actually, based on the value proposition. If I was saying advanced analytics service to insurance companies, the insurance companies were a revenue of say 100 million. I need to find the CTOs in those organizations I use something like LinkedIn Sales Navigator to actually say there are 2,000 CTOs. You sort of meet your profile. Some of them may already have a solution. Some could be looking. Some could be working with someone else. Some actually, our capabilities may not match to actually their sort of IT ecosystem. But so you need to do a huge volume of sort of outreach. Um, there are tools out there where you can send messages. You know, it comes across as really personal, doesn't it? You get these messages on LinkedIn from Robbie Bhatti, and he's like, "Hey Martin, see that you're working at this really big insurance company in this role. I hope you're doing well, etc. I'd like to connect and be part of your network." Uh, where am I going with this? So, over time, a lot of our roles, people in sales think that we're never going to be automated, we're never going to be replaced. But a lot of the activities that salespeople do, it is being automated, it is being replaced. So the job is changing. That I come from a delivery background. You always had this stereotype of a salesperson with that slick suit. And he had a bit of magic. He or she had a bit of magic and charm about them, and they just come in there and give you a bit of that magic and charm. The job is because because how to put this? Loads of people are coming up. There are loads of ideas, loads of problems. So problems are becoming sort of like smaller and smaller. You're trying to find something unique that you can solve. Actually means that people are having lots and lots of engagements, just talking with lots of suppliers. In the sort of olden days, bigger companies would sort of do everything for you. But I've I've got a phone. I've got an Apple phone. Um, I've got Sennheiser earpods. I don't feel like I need to buy the Apple earpods or that to actually be happy. There's someone out there who's solving a problem for me that actually I'd prefer that to that product. So same in sales, really. You can't do everything for everyone, so people are talking to people, which means it's now becoming more common for people to speak to a lot of people, and a lot of that sort of outreach is being automated. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. So that's
and even like
interesting.
finding leads.
Yeah, because at one time in my life, it was about 20 years ago already, I was selling IT solutions. I was selling it to big finance houses in South Africa. And it was a compliance solution. So it was at the time that Know Your Customer and the big money laundering legislation had just come in, like globally. So I had at that time, this is pre LinkedIn, obviously, there were 47 businesses that I could possibly sell this solution to. So I literally cold called these 47 businesses from the receptionist, worked out if they had a compliance officer, if the compliance officer was on the board, who they were, when I was going to get hold of them, got hold of them, and had like conversations with probably 42 out of the 47. Got invited into whatever it was, 25 of their businesses to have more of a conversation. That was grossly inefficient probably, but still effective. I don't know. I
Yeah,
mean,
I hear you. You made the effort. There's a
yes,
human voice behind there. Um, However, here's a question to you. If I told you I'm a people person, however, if I don't recognize the mobile number on the phone, I generally won't pick it up because I've had some negative experiences where someone would go, "Is this Mr. Batty?" They don't obviously know your first name, and they're like, "Oh, we're looking at our records. You've got a virus on your computer, or you've got this or that." I don't want those calls, so I'm a bit nervous about if I get a text message or a phone call nowadays to actually answer that, because I don't want someone to like sell me double glazing to go, "I'm in your area. Could I come round? I'm standing outside your house. I can see you. Would you open the door?" could I sell you double glazing? So I think those cold calling techniques, I think people are nervous about. They're almost like, how do you know who I am nowadays? Yeah. How do you know who I am? How did you find my number? And what else do you know about me? I think people find that disconcerting. So this sort of outreach of like using automated messaging through trusted platforms like LinkedIn, etc., is a sort of way of filtering people. I don't know
Yeah, I
how
mean,
you feel about that. Will you answer the phone if you don't recognise the number?
well, worse than that, I spent 10 years of my life not doing it exclusively. I spent the first 3 years of my career cold calling people. So now, so I'm not answering your question directly, but I'm talking to the point, I think. Now,
Yeah.
I don't call anyone without messaging them in advance to say, are you around? Are you up for a chat? So I won't
So
call my best friends on the planet because without checking first that they're cool for me to call, because that's the way it's evolved.
I
So
do the same.
yeah,
My
so
friend, my friend in America that I worked with, I can look at the time difference using my phone,
yep.
seeing what the time is, where he lives. But you're right, he may be, everyone's so busy. It kind of feel like a middle-aged man here, which I am actually. So
We both are. I'm a
I'm
little bit ahead of you.
qualified. Yeah, we're qualified to talk about this. We've got PhDs and black belts, but it's the same. I tend to message someone and go, "Are you free to talk?" And they're like, "Is it going to be a long conversation?" Which is normally a silly conversation about crazy things, what you up to, or is it a short thing that you need someone? And like, yeah, and
So people are
I hear you.
qualifying that conversation before they agree to have it with you. Like, so you see,
Yeah,
this is where I think it's
we're
become
all
comes.
selling ourselves to each other.
Yeah, and I think this is where it comes round, because I think people are more anxious about everything. So
Yeah,
anxiety is clearly up, and all those horrible statistics are clearly up. So people are anxious about everything. So like you're saying, like the fraud that you might fall victim to on the phone is more sophisticated than it was previously. But if you, a 44-year-old ex-tech, is anxious about receiving a call from someone saying you've got a virus on your computer, how does a 70-year-old widowed, at home alone female feel from taking those calls? I suppose. So,
I
but for
think
me,
they're more likely to answer because they're probably more lonely and they're
yeah, and they
feeling,
don't
who is
know
this?
that people are supposed to text them before they call. You know?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't know the golden rule.
Yes.
Yeah,
So what's the thing about the? So the thing about this is everything. I'm a relationship seller. Like, my style as a salesperson was like, from the very first sales job I ever had. I actually did before that some double glazing cold calling, which were not for very long whilst I was at sixth form college. But my
you
first
made
post,
£10 million from it, but it wasn't making you happy, so you retired at the top
I decided to go
gracefully.
to university anyway, and do politics for 3 years. So, what's the point about this? The point about this is my first sales job, I was selling advertising. Like, we were cold calling and selling advertising. It was like established B2B, like proper, but it was boiler room type situations. It was all relationship. Nobody cares so much about where they're spending their advertising. So, what I learned in my first job is you need to become mates with these people. You need
Yeah,
it to get to the point where when they answer the phone to you, and they realize it's you, because they didn't know then who it was who was calling them, then
yeah,
they would enjoy that conversation, and it might cost them a bit of money, but they'd be doing some advertising which they need to do, and they're having a nice chat with their mate. So everything I've sold has been about relationship, and I just worry that even like relationships, even close relationships, are less close and less available than they might have been previously.
so if you're a salesperson, yeah, you don't go to the top. Where do you do? Generally, in any sort of profession, you start at the bottom, or You may, maybe in the middle. But say in sales you start at the bottom. Say you're selling SaaS software, yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the typically that's done by a sales development rep. What's their job to do? They'll go out there, they'll cold call, email, send LinkedIn messages. Yeah. Now, so they've got their prospect lists, and there's actually software they can use to generate prospect lists. So everything's been automated. Everything's been automated. So sales development reps, they'll use LinkedIn, and send 10,000 messages going, we can help you find more leads or something. Um, if they become really good at that they book meetings for the business development, the sales executive, then they become a sales executive. The sales executive speak to these prospects. In the olden days, you'd meet face to face, but typically it's over Teams or Zoom, and you try and build a rapport beforehand, send an email, or, give a voucher, or like, look, here's a £10 voucher for a coffee shop. Really looking forward to talking to you. They'll try and qualify what your problem is before you speak to you and try and give you a demo. And if you're really good at converting those leads into opportunities and closing them, you may become a sales manager. And then if you're etc., you move up the chain to the point where, the sky's the limit. In the future, those sales development representatives, could that be replaced? Could it all be done online? Could it all be automated? If you take out the fact that people aren't calling each other and it's mainly done through them getting your email on LinkedIn or sending you a message to your LinkedIn messaging area, do you need a person to do that? So sales is going to change because we are going to automate it. But then what happens as a salesperson, if you've never started at that bottom, if you've never made the calls, you've never had to go out there and find prospects, do you need that? Do you need that to actually become, a sales executive? I kind of think with everything, the more you know about that end-to-end process, the better, really. But in the future, if that's all done for you, I kind of feel that, for me, we're always learning, aren't we?
Yeah.
I've
And
actually learned something today that actually I'm not alone in the sense that kind of nervous in terms of like picking up the phone, or I'll actually message my people. I kind of thought, why do I do that? But actually, Martin, it's interesting to hear that you do that. But in terms of sales, it will get you automating that bit, yeah. What's to stop the other bits getting automated? What's to
yeah.
stop someone just going to a website, watching a video, and then clicking and buying the software?
Yeah, 100%. And I think you're right. If you don't have that, like, that's where you cut your teeth, where you do the work to understand the work that goes into identifying a prospect and building a relationship and understanding their situation, and building a proposition that meets their needs or their desires. If you don't go through those development stages, then are you going to be capable of doing whatever the senior bit of that is? So I
Or
think that's
managing
interesting.
people, or managing people in the process effectively. If you
Yes.
just think the process is, we'll just use some software that just sends out 10,000 messages a day. Wow, that's a lot. Well, that's 50,000 a week. From that, if we get 1%, we'll be really lucky. If you just think it's like that, you're not going to be successful, are you?
No.
Because even using that software, what messages do you send to people? We know this as well, but say, I don't think I'm giving the tricks away here, but I think generally, someone connects with you on LinkedIn, they never sell to you on the first message. They never go, "Hi, Martin, I'd like to connect with you, and I'd like to talk about an opportunity of selling my software to you." People never do that. What do? I'm not giving this away. Everyone does this. I think it's unwritten rules that people, if you're on LinkedIn, then I think you've kind of accepted that people go out and reach to you. What do people tend to do? It's what that sales development rep would do. They try and connect with you
Yes.
and say, I'd like to join your network, or you're working in this area or in this role. That's interesting. Like to, I'm curious to what you do. Something that sort of, makes you think, fine, you're not trying to sell to me.
Yeah.
Connect.
So
Then the second message, they're like, I know something about your business, what you're doing. You've got this pain point or this problem. Here's actually how we've helped people like yourself or organizations like yourself. Um, it comes to that email thing. Are you
yes.
interested in speaking to your cousin in India? Yes. Tell me how I can do it. I'm really interested. And then, so you build that, don't you? But we used to do that in person. That first meeting you'd meet, or that cold call, if you were successful, you may then meet for coffee or meet in an office or meet somewhere. But that second meeting, you're not going to sell, are you? They're not going to, on that second meeting, after you successfully cold called them or sent that automated message, people aren't going to immediately buy on you. There could be instances where they do based on the brand and credibility. There are powerful brands out there that people are aware of, but you have to build that. So even with the automated process, it's replicating what a human would do. So if you never did it, how can you tell the software? Well, the software is configured, people are doing it for you, but the software isn't going to guarantee you a win. Me driving a fast car isn't going to make me a great driver. It's got all these aids. But if I still go into a corner at 100 miles an hour, there's still a chance, the risk that I could kill myself or hurt someone. So I do worry about that, Martin, that, how do you can't just rely on the software
You can't
in the
rely on
sales
this. You can't rely
space.
on the soft. The thing is, what's going on is that maybe these AI script writers are getting better and better and better. They're they're fielding thousands of results, whatever, analyzing thousands of results. But what's also happening is that the receivers are becoming more and more skeptical. And because what they're doing is they're being conditioned to respond to bots, whether they know it's a bot or otherwise. So they are becoming ruder and ruder and ruder, I think. When you're communicating with somebody through a text, they are multiple times ruder than they would be if you were speaking to them face to face, because we don't speak to each other like that. But the way we text each other is very different. And what's happening, I think, because so much of this activity is going on through bots, is people don't even know if they're dealing with a human being or not. And
Yeah.
so there's no filter. Like, why not be rude? But the thing is, as the bots supposedly get more sophisticated and clever and more effective, then the market gets more and more skeptical. So what I'm in mind of is, I don't know if it was Siri or it was the Google Assistant, but they came out and they said, okay, now you can book a hairdressing appointment through your phone assistant. So basically you can say to your phone, book me a hair appointment for Tuesday at 10 o'clock, and they will call the hairdresser, the salon, and
Yeah.
actually have a conversation with the person, and blah, and the appointment would get booked. I haven't heard much about this since. I think this was 3 or 4 years ago. So obviously, I saw the application for cold calling. Why not? Because an AI isn't going to take no for an answer as easily as a salesperson, and maybe they're going to have better answers for all the responses. But then immediately that happens, then someone's going to develop a cold calling receiving service. So it's just going to be bots talking to each other, which then makes
And
you
no human
think,
interaction. So we'll live in a house, Martin, where all right, or you could work in a company where you don't meet anyone in your company. Everyone's working remotely. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, uh, but you're communicating, but it's not face-to-face communication. We are hunter-gatherers. We were in tribes. Our wiring was sort of from 50 to 70,000 years ago. We're social primates. We actually, people say they don't need to be around people. We're social primates. It's important for our mental health that we're actually around people. And actually, all of this automation, all of these things is it's depersonalizing it.
it is. And the thing is, I think it's conditioning people, or it's reinforcing this idea that people don't want to be with people. They don't want to be bothered. They don't want to be interrupted. They don't want to be, and I suppose it's like these cons, these scams are contributing to that as well. It's so people are becoming more and more isolated, I think, is the trouble. This isn't the conversation I expected to have. So
But
how
it's organically gone where it's needed to, I guess.
okay, good. So how do you, if your specialization is relationships, how do you go about forging relationships then if these are the barriers?
It's so I think whenever you communicate with that, so say it's a new customer, um, if you're not meeting face to face, show yourself on the camera. Show that you're a human being. Look presentable. Not saying you need one. We don't need to wear dinner jackets today, bow ties or suits with bad ties and stuff. But I think you need to, so building that relationship, be visible uh, through whatever medium. Show that you're actually speaking to a human, and be interested. Do your homework on them. Understand the business that they're working in. Understand their role, and then understand the potential challenges that they have, and then be really clear in actually how you can actually take away those challenges. It's all about doing homework. It's all about being prepared. It's like, when if you speak, it's like, as you say, if you go out to a restaurant with friends, uh, go out to your restaurant with your friends and eat and drink and actually talk to them. Don't be there on your phone. That to me, otherwise, what's the point? You may as well just sit in front of your laptop screen and eat food there and just talk to each other, or read the Daily Mail, or or something really. So
Yeah.
it's invest in that person. Yeah, be don't be obsessive. Understand who they are, where they are, what they're doing, what their career has, and know as much as possible about it. Be interested in them. Be enthusiastic. Smile. Yeah, try and make them feel like they actually want to talk to you, that you're actually giving something to them of value and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, that is really important. You could send an email, but as you say, actually, one thing I found, even when I was in the public sector now, is we WhatsApp people. Now, I use WhatsApp because it's instantaneous, really, and you can actually have a quick WhatsApp call. But as you said, you wouldn't send a meeting invite, but um, one of the one of the great customers we have been speaking to them this week. I've just been WhatsApping, going, "Are you free on Friday?" So it's really important that you build those relationships. But I do actually think you should meet people, and I don't know how you feel about that, but people buy from people. You want to, if you're going to spend £1 million with someone, you're going to want to see that person. You're going to want to see the team that's delivering it. You're going to have relationships with these people. If you're working with these people over a year and it's your head on the line that you're paying £1 million for this, uh, you're going to want to think that you're going to have some sort of relationship with these people and that you get on. or that if you have a disagreement, that you can get through it in an amicable way.
Yes, 100%. You see, I say to people that really, what you want to do is escalate the engagement as quickly as you can. So when I was cold calling people, the mission was to qualify them, to work out actually if there's a benefit in pursuing this conversation. But having identified that there is, then the mission would be to get face to face with them. And then what you want to do is get to a point where you're buying them lunch, or you're taking them to a sports event, or you're playing golf, or you're doing whatever it is. And then jokingly, I say where you want to get to is where you're godfather to their kids. You know, that's the point. And I say that because I did this in South Africa. And the beautiful thing about South Africa is that you'll meet someone, and if they like you, they will invite you to their house, like on the first meeting. Now, I've known people for 30 years in the UK, and I've never been to their house, you know. But in South Africa, that will happen. And I remember what happened one time is I was chasing a prospect, a client, and the people in my team said to me, "You're wasting your time there," because he's housemates basically with our competition. And what housemates meant is they go around each other's houses. So every time they have a barbecue, they'll be at each other's houses. So you're never going to shift that relationship. What's the point of saying this? The point of saying this, I suppose, is that still has to be the mission. You don't actually have to be godparents to their kids, but that still should be the mission, to have as good and strong and close a relationship as possible. But maybe the tech is putting more steps in the way. And maybe...
But also tech,
Sorry?
sorry. So
Yeah.
also tech, though, means that you're getting more outreach. So I'm a salesperson. I'm trying to find prospects, new business, new logos, customers. But in the last couple of years, I'm being sold to.
Right.
Everyone's selling to everyone at every level. Uh, so why are people trying to sell to me? They're trying to sell me lead generation. Yeah, don't have marketing. We'll automate it for you. Trying to sell me to come to this conference. Trying to sell me people. Everything. That never happened. When I first started off in sales,
Yeah.
my job was to sell to people. Now I'm trying to sell to people, and people are trying to sell to me.
Yes. So...
It's there's been a paradigm shift. But so what happens then is you're trying to do your job, and say you're a developer and you're on LinkedIn. There could be people trying to sell you courses on there.
Yeah.
Do this course. You'll earn 200k. You'll drive a fast car. Or would you like this training? Or would you like to join this group? Would you like to do this and that? So we're all trying to do our jobs using data, technology, automation, but we're also getting sold to as well. And comes to your point is it's getting to overload. You're doing your job, you're trying to use LinkedIn. I'm looking at Martin and thinking, wow, what a guy. And we're talking today. But then I suddenly go through my messages and there's someone saying, can I help you with your recruitment? Can I help you with lead generation? Can I help you with this? Would you like to go to this conference? Would you like to have this meeting where you get access to 30 key stakeholders from around the world? Would you join this to give feedback on a previous company you worked on? It's just too much. There's
It's
no
too
balance.
much. And
We're
the
in the
thing...
Wild West stage at the moment, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, I think we're in the wild... Well, I don't know.
There's no rules.
I think it's always been the Wild West, but now it's the Wild West on overdrive, because the more automation there is, the more... we've said this already, the more automation there is, the more volume there is, the more interrupted we are, the more agitated by it we are, the more skeptical we are, the more resistant we are. It doesn't actually... I mean, it's a fine line, I think, if it's going to work. And I don't think it is going to work. you can do, like we all do. I have done some very basic automation on LinkedIn. I can buy a bot and it'll cost me $15 and it will do. I mean, there's no value in it anymore because they've limited it now, but I could invite
Yeah.
100 people a day, and if
Yeah.
20 of those people invited, I could do the follow-up message. And then by that point, if they're still engaging, then I know that I should be involved. It seems very contradictory that what you and I are looking to do is have a relationship with these people. And the fact that we've outsourced this to lines of code, the very door opening bit, it seems to me is just counterintuitive.
It could be generational though, as well.
What's that?
Forgive me. It could be generational. So I speak to people of different generations. It's not necessarily speaking to people of my generation. And then even within my generation, there are people have different personalities. Some people can say no really quickly. Other people can't say no and get sucked into conversations and they get anxious and nervous about it. But I found with other generations, and I look at my kids as well, I'm going to say it. My kids can we sit in the living room and everyone's on their phones and they could be communicating to each other on their phones. Well,
Yes.
whereby I was growing up, we didn't have the ability to do that, to be fair. So I've sort of been conditioned differently. But we'd sit there and say, should we play Monopoly? And we'd play for 10 minutes and give up because it was boring. We knew this game was going to take too many hours. So I am cognizant as well that, and this comes back to trying to understand who you're speaking to. What generation are they? We remember a world before the internet. There are some people who have grown up. There are really successful people in the 20s who I speak to. You've done way more than me. I'm not jealous of what they are. I'm really fortunate and lucky that I get to speak to them and to sort of get their experience or get their superhero stories of how they did things. Now, they may not, some of those people, they don't value a call or that, quite like the messaging. So it's a tough one, really. I think it comes back to what we're saying from a sales is you understand who you're talking to. Yeah, the more you do, the better. And it's about what's this? It's about engaging with them in the way that that they find sort of like less threatening, if you see what I mean.
So this is why, I mean, I really do quite worry about the generations that are coming behind us, because when I engage with them, I find them at the same time grossly insensitive to other people's needs and grossly sensitive to their needs, unbelievably easily offended, and actually at the same time unbelievably offensive. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and what we're seeing is like we say, all these horrible statistics, anxiety, self-harm, depression, suicide, all these are scarily high. But we've also given them these things to hide behind. So I have lost count of the amount of times I've heard someone say, I'm too anxious to speak on the phone, so I can't speak to you, But it used to be that it was just good manners. So you can be as anxious as you like. The priority is that you have manners and you get on and you engage with people and you make arrangements and you keep those arrangements, So I do worry for the generations that are coming behind us.
How did we evolve? At some stage, we made sounds, be it like, imagine meeting the first person. Imagine the person who created a drum and then banged the drum and people thought, this is drum and bass, let's dance to it. This music's brilliant. And at some stage in the future, we'll electronify it. I don't know if that word exists. If it does, and I've invented it and I'll become famous, people will remember this conversation in 10,000 years. But We evolved to actually speak. We evolved languages, writing, yeah, but we
Yes.
evolved to actually speak. This makes us different from other animals. Uh, and now we're saying we can't speak to each other. We have to use something inorganic to communicate. That just doesn't, if you believe in Mother Nature and things like that, just doesn't feel like, it doesn't feel like this is what Mother Nature would want. We evolved that we can have this conversation now, and we can
Yes.
say things. We can express whether I'm happy, I'm not happy, I need help, or can you just make me feel, give me some support. But how do you communicate that in a text?
Or let's just have a stupid conversation, or let's just do something stupid. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what was I thinking? I was thinking, you see, I think, like, because everyone talks about these younger generations being very entitled. And I think that the digitization of media, for example, where everything is available on demand, has stolen from us a sense of occasion, of getting something that we weren't expecting. So I remember when I was a
Magic.
kid, my dad would tell me, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly's on TV in 2 weeks' time, and you and I are going to sit up and watch it. And
You take the Radio Times, I would put a circle around it or something,
exactly, yeah.
and like have to remember to myself that we got to actually watch that.
Yeah, but me and my dad are sitting down and watching this together, and it stops at 9 o'clock, and the news comes on, and then it continues after 9 o'clock. So I'm up way after my bedtime, and no one else is up. It's just me and my dad, and the whole house is in darkness. And there was a sense of occasion, and it's like you're a little bit behind me, so I don't know if snooker died before, but I remember going into school on a Monday, and
White and
everybody
Dennis
had been
Taylor.
watching the snooker the night before, and everybody
Yeah,
is talking about that same thing. So that sense of like shared media, that sense of community that comes out of that, I think has been lost. Because if I want to watch, I've got The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly on one of my, I was going to say I've got it on my computer, which I haven't. I've got it on a streaming service, so I can watch it whenever I like. So what's the sense in watching it? I've got Spotify. I've got 400 of my favorite songs ever, because every time I remember a song that's brilliant, I put it on this list. So whenever I'm
yeah.
driving anywhere, I'm being played my favorite songs all the time. So it hasn't happened to me for years, where I've been listening to the radio and my favorite song comes on and I get a kick out of that. Do you know what I mean? So
We call this the fear of discovering the fear of not discovering new music, because you listen to your 400 favorite songs on Spotify. Instead of doing that, you can't believe I'm mentioning the radio in 2022
I
because
did it first. You're right, man.
but yeah, I'm in a safe space. But listen to radio, or your friend would say you need to listen to this band, or
Yes.
borrow this tape. But actually, I've realised now on Spotify, I listen to the same music from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, etc. I discovered Fleetwood Mac. No interest in that type of music, I thought. But during lockdown, I heard the song, and then I was like, I didn't know what that was in Fleetwood Mac, and I quite like a bit of other stuff. So I'm now going to go and discover other stuff in the 70s and maybe 60s. But like you, if I go to the gym or if I'm in the car, I've got that list of predetermined songs that the ones that I lean on if I need to be lifted or elevated, or if I
Yeah.
need just to be made happy. You've got those things. So again,
Yeah.
we're not doing that discovery. And again, just in sales, it feels a lot more sort of black and white. And I don't know, maybe it isn't for everyone. I still think we need to keep that human element in sales. That's all.
I really think so.
It can be
And
more effective that way.
yes. I mean, where this is going, which really petrifies me, is like the metaverse type situation. So people, well, you, because you're selling software, you might be okay. And I might be okay if I'm selling trainings or career development or whatever it might be. But people selling well, people selling chairs are going to be all right because they'll be sitting on chairs. I don't know. People selling physical, real world things. Uh, these people aren't going to be engaging with those things anymore. That's what concerns me. I want to have a conversation also about AI
Yeah.
because this also scares me because I've worked in IT. I've used computers for the last 30 years. Um, I know how shit computers are. You know, I got carried away and bought a new MacBook 2 months ago. I watched 30, 40 reviews. Everyone says it's amazing. Go and buy it. I go and buy it. It crashes 3 or 4 times a week, you know. I've walked up to ATM machines and there's been the blue screen of death there because the Windows running on the ATM machine has crashed. Um,
Yeah.
and so what it seems to me is that AI isn't going to be AI. It's going to be what computers do. And what computers are much better at doing is analyzing data. But what they're not good at, to my mind, because they don't have experience, they don't have emotion, they don't have empathy, they can't possibly be good at making decisions. So you see, okay, here's the data. Now, what I'd like to see is a human look at that data and say, okay, given my experience, my empathy, my emotion, my actual investment in these things, this is like a good idea. So it feels to me like AI is just going to be it's going to be like a god where we just give it absolute authority. And like they were saying on Little Britain 20 years ago, the computer says no. That's actually going to mean no. There is no recourse because there is no bank manager because there is no bank because there is
Yeah.
no branches anywhere in the world. Do you know what I mean? So this concerns me also. Am I right to be concerned?
Um, I'll tell you where we are now. So a subset of AI is machine learning. What's machine learning do? It's statistical analysis. Yeah. So these are algorithms, but these algorithms have been codified by a human being. Um, we're not at the stage where you can type into Google and go, uh, "Am I going to get married? When am I going to die? Will I have children?" Uh, you know, but where we are is that we can. What you can't do is just throw data at something and say, "Tell me," and that data goes, Miss Insurance Company, you can increase your revenue by 20%. So what it involves is using machine learning models that you need to build it's, and
Yeah.
train on lots and lots of data to actually solve a problem. But you need to know the problem that you solve. So when I speak to a lot of people, they're like, "Oh, well, what if we give you access to data? Do you need anything else?" They just
Yes.
like think there's a black box there. There'll be this pipe, or invisible pipe, and there'll be data going back and forth. And they'll be sent things like, "We've just analysed your data today. You know, you can reduce 10% of your staff, and you can do this, and it won't impact your business." It won't do that. You need to ask good questions. So, what are you trying to solve? What is the question? Well, we're trying to. So, this is something when we speak to people, is what are you? They go, "We want to use advanced analytics or machine learning, you know, and we have to." And this is where I think in sales about relationship is trying to understand the problems that they have or that they don't know they have, is to try to understand what it is they're trying to solve. So, an example could be that they maybe want to generate more sales. Machine learning, AI isn't going to tell you how to generate more sales. What it can do, though, is tell you where sort of the pain points, the blockers are in your process. So, a pain point could be is that your sales conversion, your conversion of this digital quote and bind is it's not 100% because things are being referred to an underwriter. But you look at each case that goes through, you can't maybe necessarily determine that there's a high referral rate. Or you can, but there could then be a multitude of reasons. What machine learning can do is to create these models and algorithms. Once you know the problem, what the question is, can then actually start to use machine learning to actually see if you can solve that problem. What does success of that problem look like? 10% increase, 20%, 30%? The AI isn't going to tell you what success looks like. So again, it's you're using technology to enable an outcome that you wouldn't have been able to do 20 years ago. Alan, like me saying, Martin, I need to end this call now. The bank's going to end. The bank's going to close in 40 minutes, and I need to put this check in. If I don't do it in the next 40 minutes, I'm going to have no money to go Sainsbury's next week. This technology that we've got now takes away that pain, but you still, as a human, need to ask good questions. So your bit about the AI, that we're not at that stage where it's a real artificial intelligence, but as we've seen with everything in life, things in the technology space are accelerating. There is that opportunity in the future that uh, that we do get a true AI, I guess. But at the moment, we're training it. It's human models. It learns off that data, and actually, over time with those models, it can actually learn itself because it's got access to so much data. It can see trends and patterns in there that the human brain, we just couldn't do that using paper and stuff. Is it
Yeah.
scary? Absolutely. And I guess there are a lot of people, though, in the industry talking about ethics because there isn't a standard set of rules, Martin. There are many uses of applications of AI and ML within business, within our lives. But what we've not agreed as a country or a continent or a group of countries is, you know, what are the boundaries?
Yes.
There's lots of discussion, and I know there are people sort of working to sort of common standards or principles, but my honest belief is based on where we started and where we've ended up is that it will happen, but and again, if that happens, it's I think we're going to need to have rules. So where do we draw the line?
Yeah. See, I think a number of things about this. I think artificial isn't. Like, so if I think about artificial grass, it isn't grass. It isn't anything like as good as grass. If I think about artificial Christmas trees, they're not Christmas trees. They're nothing like as good as Christmas trees. Do you know what I mean? So I'm
Yeah,
not worried at all that it's going to become so clever that it takes over. What I'm worried about is that society is going to go, now it's so clever, everything is going to be decided by computers. And the thing about machine learning, people get very excited. But like you say, it goes back to the original developer. And when I think about these things, I think about my friend Johan in South Africa, because we were part body shop. So we would have contractors in the market, part solution house, because we had the license to sell a software that was accelerated programming. So basically,
yeah,
we would like it was on AS400s and mainframes and stuff. And so basically, yeah, Johan, like I was part of my job was to look after Johan. He's our resource in their business, and he'd be mad because the IT manager or the software development manager or whatever is challenging him. What are you doing? And he's like, "Don't challenge me! Don't challenge me! I build things, you know." And he's using this accelerated coding stuff to just create. And he's doing it at 4 o'clock in the morning, high off his face on Red Bull, you know, and it's like mistakes are made. So I always think of
yeah,
Johan. So you can talk to it about machine learning, but before that machine learn, there was, and that machine learn, and that machine learn, and that machine, there was Johan building things and refusing to be challenged, you know? So that's what scares me is that actually the society, and it's already happening, where they say, okay, this is now the higher authority, this is now the higher power, the computer's decided, there's nothing you can do about it, and that is going on. And there is another thing about this that concerns me. Oh, Elon Musk putting chips in people's heads. That's, it's terrifying.
But you say that, I would say that, but if we were to ask people, if he was to put a survey on Twitter or something, or whatever the platforms he's on, and actually said to people, I could give you a chip. This would help you. It would pick up these early stage signs of these health conditions, or it would help you to concentrate more or to read better.
They're saying it will help paraplegics to walk again, so this is the pitch.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, let me not be hypothetical. If you're a paraplegic and you have that opportunity to walk again, I think there would be a lot of people in that situation, like me, who wanted to speak to my cousin in India and used his email. I want to know more about that. I'd like to do that.
Yeah, and so this is the fear, is that it's always sold on the convenience. So Elon Musk's chip in the head isn't going to be available to the end of the year, apparently. But they are now in Sweden inserting chips with people's vaccination status into their hands.
Yeah.
That is, like, how inconvenient is it to pull a piece of paper out of your pocket and show it to somebody, So,
or even on your app. Or even have it on your app, built-in standards. That means it's on an Android or an Apple device.
Yeah.
So when I was in Romania, I had to show evidence of my vaccinations in the UK before I could buy a drink in a pub or something. So yeah, that's really convenient. Really, do I need to carry a chip on that? Is that, I hear you, I feel like that's a stage too far, but I guess with this technology, where we're going is we're sort of, what's the word? We're combining with it.
We really are. And this is exactly what's happening. So I teach digital marketing. So there was always been a bit at the end where it's like future technology, whatever. And people are talking about the chips. And they've been talking about 2022, I'm not joking, since about 2013. 2022 will be the year. 2022 will be the year. But 2 years ago, that still felt like a long way away. In Sweden, it's going. Like the stated benefit, paraplegics can walk, perfectly justified if that's the case. Scary, but perfectly justified. Oh, you don't have to get your phone out to show someone your vaccination status. That's insane. Like, that's insane laziness.
Well, there'll be some people who'd be on the phone and go, yeah, sorry, like that. It's, I hear you on that. It's, we're kind of covering a lot. We're talking about sales, but we're talking about automation as well, and AI. And I guess for me is, most of my life has been in delivery and technical roles, but I've had like the privilege of working on really big projects with people, and it was really good fun when we went live. I really love sales, and I wish I started it earlier in my career, but for sales in the future, I feel a lot of it you will use bots, you will use AI, you will use automation to take away those activities. Now, some of them, they should be taken away. Can you send out 5,000 emails? That's boring as well. No one really would want to do that, you would think. So you can do something more of high value. But I don't know what's going to happen, but I know, like, certainly in the next 5 years and stuff, how we actually, one of the questions you were going to ask, Martin, about what sort of books to read, I'm going to be really... I'm going to be controversial or boring to people. When I was in
you can't be controversial and boring.
Yeah. When I was in Capita, I'll see what I say now. When I was in Capita, I did training with a company called Revenue Storm. Absolutely amazing. Would recommend that to anyone. Also did Miller Hyman training. I had a bit of a hang up about Miller Hyman because it's been around for a really, really long time. But actually, when I did the training, do you know what? It's a lot of what they're actually getting you to do is to understand the person, to be prepared. So when you meet someone, you're not going, well, tell me your problems. What keeps you up at night? How can I help you? That's so intellectually lazy. People don't have the time for that. Now, controversial, a lot of people don't like Miller Hyman, but actually what Miller Hyman I thought was really good is actually you're preparing, you actually invested in that person so that you actually have a meaningful conversation, and actually they feel that there's something of value that you could sell to them that could make them, the way that I like to say it is, you want to, when you're selling to someone, you want to make them famous. That when they brought this, that they think that they're going to be celebrated in their company. People are going to think he's a genius for buying that, or using that company. So actually, Miller Hyman, this actually, I hate doing preparation. You just want to go in there and smile and have a bit of magic and charm. But because people are so busy, automation hasn't given us more time. We've got less time, it feels like. I think I would say to people, have a read of their books. Or speak to someone, like Revenue Storm. Read the stuff that they do, because it is all about understanding the problem that you're trying to solve, and you can automate that to an extent, but you're not going to get the sale, I don't think.
Yeah. The thing is, I think what we're talking about is an age old B2B sales and marketing issue, which is how do you cut through the noise and the junk to get to the person that you can be supporting, and actually making that happen. So that is age old. And I think the thing about automation is it's just increasing the noise. So it's part of the reason that people are less available is because they are more bombarded with these messages. So now your message has to be cuter, it has to be better, it has to be. So is a computer going to help you to do that? It's just going to make people more skeptical. So I'm with you 100%. I think it's about relationships, and I think, and I hope that continues to be the case, or that continues to be the opportunity at least, because otherwise they're just going to automate the sales process, automate the procurement process, and there's it's that's the
What do
alternative.
people do? What if you want to do sales? What? Yeah, I hear you. And the next time we have this conversation in 10 years or 20 years, it will be our avatars in the metaverse. Uh, and there may not necessarily be physical entities of us left. No,
If
you
you
don't know.
if you meet an avatar of me in the metaverse, will you do me a favor and just come around my house and shoot me in the face wherever I'm plugged in?
No, I'll
Because
report you to it. It's because someone took a picture of you and said, "I want this avatar." But interestingly about AI for sales CRM, um, say you're selling Salesforce solutions, you put your opportunity in as a lead. I'm saying this in case my boss is listening. You then qualify it, put the opportunity in. What if you had tens of thousands of opportunities in there, won or lost? What if AI/ML could actually help you say the probability of you winning this is quite low because of these reasons? Because you put in again, it's all about the data you put in. You can't just put in the opportunities for 2 years. It's £100 million, 40% margin. If you, again, what I said about ML, if you need data though, you need to train it on lots and lots of data, but you also need to capture that data to be able then train it, etc. Is what if in the CRM you're using, it could actually give you a probability of actually closing that? How would you feel about that? Would you believe it?
no,
If it said you had a 30% and then your sales director, who's 20 years younger than you, and actually says, "I believe the software, let's do it, you should close it," would you close it? or would you look to actually say these are the improvements, recommendations it's making? This is what you actually need to do. I think I don't know what the answer. I know your answer to it, but I'm curious as to there's someone out there. Sure, there are people working on this problem, so that's actually going to happen. It's actually happening now. I know there are companies doing it, but yeah, that to me is something that could impact me curiously, and I'm actually trying to sell to someone else. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I wouldn't believe it. I still feel you need to qualify it, but also give evidence and proof of how you're actually going to close that opportunity. But that day isn't far off.
I think that day is a long way off, and I'll tell you why. Is because what we're imagining is that somehow we're going to be able to produce computer softwares or computer programs that are going to fix the world. That's not the case. Like you can't create a you have to have the fix in the real world, and then you can replicate it on the software is what you can do. So what you've gone to is something that I think is at the very heart of like business to business sales, and almost the very definition of why you need a business to business salesperson, because that person should be there qualifying the likelihood of that happening, using their actual, not artificial intelligence, their actual intelligence. Because what you're doing is relying on not a computer, but you're relying on the emotions of the person coming round in your favor to actually do the thing. And
yeah, as opposed to probability.
Exactly. And so what's... The reason this can't be computerized or digitized or artificial or AI'd or whatever it might be is because that's not actually what B2B salespeople are spending their time doing. They should be spending their time qualifying the opportunity and working out where they should be investing their resources, their time and their energy.
Be doing that. You should also be... So would you buy from a brand you've never heard of? No, unlikely. You know, why? If there was software, if there was a CRM that was built by someone, but you never heard of them, but you knew of Microsoft Dynamics, I would more likely go with Microsoft Dynamics because I know it's a big company. It would be reliable. If anything goes wrong, there's, so salespeople, you need to do your opportunities. But how do you build the brand of your company? You can't completely automate that. You've got to have some sort of human involvement in driving your messages. And, and then once you've got some brand, people know what you're famous for. You then, what's your credibility? You need case studies or stories or videos.
Yes.
Do you know what would be really powerful if I was speaking to someone in financial services and they said, we love your company, we're a good fit. My CFO's saying, though, is, where have you done this elsewhere?
Yes.
You give us some examples. Do you know what would be really nice is if I had a video of one of customers actually saying, they're not talking about the company I work out or what we're doing, but actually saying the business benefit, the operational costs that were reduced or whatever, the benchmarks are that make them extremely happy, that they articulate that in a video and you can share that with someone. Or they'd actually would entertain a phone call and say, I love working with Martin. Martin, you can give my number to Jeff Leopard. And when Jeff Leopard speaks to that person, they go, working with that organisation, they've done all these projects for us. They're amazing.
Yes.
They've got your back.
See, the thing is, I think that's
really important.
I think that's what, and when I train salespeople, this is what I tell them, is actually you should be deciding who you sell to. But they're not doing that, and where you invest your time and energy. What they're not doing that is they're just trying to build as much pipeline as they possibly can. And the way you do that is by not allowing or giving people the opportunity to say no. So that's why you can't computerize that, because that's what a salesperson should be doing. But nobody in the real world is actually doing that, or very few people in the real world are actually doing that. So I think it's really interesting. We've gone for an hour and a half already, man.
Unbelievable. It feels like, it's I listen to the Joe Rogan podcast.
Okay.
And this is something like he would go, wow, we've just gone for 4 hours. Now,
Yes.
what I meant to say is I can't believe we've just gone for an hour and a half, because actually it's been fun. We've actually had fun. That's really important, because we only live once and life is
Yes.
too short. So be happy and have fun. But actually, there are some things I'll take away from this, Martin.
Yeah.
Is actually we've got some hot prospects, hot leads that we're actually dealing with at the moment. And even though sometimes you talk about what you should do, I'm going to go to the gym today and do this and that, but you don't actually end up doing it. Is what am I going to take away from today? Is actually there's someone I need to phone.
Yes.
I'm going to reach out to them because I'm meeting them next week. And instead of just waiting to actually meet to them, and it's really important that we meet them next week, because I feel like there's an opportunity where we can do amazing things for them. It's actually, I'm going to give them a call today and actually talk a bit about it.
Excellent.
And why I've actually got them out and stuff, really. And I enjoy doing that. So if anyone who's listening to this conversation, no doubt there'll be over a billion likes for this on YouTube. This will be on the front page of the Daily Mail and the Guardian.
Yeah.
Boris Johnson will talk about this to deflect from the other things. Is actually, yeah, I enjoy doing that. So I actually have a job where I can do that. So I'm going to do more of it.
Yeah, and this is what I think is amazing. It's like nobody likes sales, nobody likes being sold to, but actually, if the job is about making friends with people, then what better way is there to make a living?
And they
That's
buy
what I
something
think.
from your company, you get paid a little bit of commission for it. You can
Yes,
buy a pizza, or you can buy a car for your wife, or a pair of shoes, whatever. Then, the world's a better place for that.
yes. And the thing I'm remembering is that what good salespeople are doing is looking for an opportunity to speak to their customer. Always it's like, how can I justify having a conversation with my customer? How can I, and trying to make every conversation you have with them add a little bit more value to their situation. I think that's what good salespeople do.
I think you should produce T-shirts with that, with Martin Henley on the back, number 10, because you're the Lionel Messi within your profession. And on the front, it should say, looking for an opportunity to speak to a customer. I hear you. Because of that, if you don't have those opportunities, then there's no opportunity.
No.
So I hear you. Actually, that's the second takeaway. Find more opportunities to speak to customers, which then means trying to understand more problems to solve to them. See what they're doing. Do some homework. Use the network on LinkedIn or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's a powerful way of ending. Find more opportunities to speak to customers.
Good.
Real, genuine ones.
Yes. Real opportunities to add value to their lives. That's what we're interested in.
No, I've connected with you, and this is the third message. So on the third message, I now have to get that meeting set up. And here's the meeting details. Please put it in. Have a great weekend. Blah, blah, blah.
Potentially. Good. Right. So the only thing we've got outstanding is most people like to refer at least a couple of people that they think might benefit from this conversation and benefit my currently tiny audience with a conversation. Who do you know who might fit into those categories?
I've got 3 people immediately who I think would be up for this.
Cool.
Should I say there?
If you could, that would be cool. Yeah.
Victor Paddy works in the payment space. Tim Hathaway He's an account director within Hitachi Consulting. Jamie Barder, who's been a salesperson, but has now moved in the coaching and mentoring space as well. So he's having to like sell that. I think they're three very different people with three very different backgrounds. And if you're willing and they're willing to talk, I think you'll have an interesting conversation.
Fantastic. Who was the first one? Somebody Paddy.
Yeah, I'll send you. I'm going to automate that bit, so I'll send you that on LinkedIn. Do you know what?
If you
Now
could
this,
do a
I'm
little
not against it.
introduction
I'll
like
do
Ben
all the
did with you.
introductions, but that's important because Ben did that, yeah, and made it personable. I felt obliged. I felt bad when I had to miss. I had to reschedule the other two times, so I don't want to let him down. So I think this kind of reinforces what we're talking about.
It
So
really
I'll
does,
be
yeah.
doing those this morning for you.
Fantastic. Like put an invitation together, introduction together like Ben did. That's
Yeah.
first prize. I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. It's been really interesting. And I think even though it feels like we have been talking about the age-old challenge of sales and marketing, which is how do you find and engage with prospective customers? And so I think it's all been very relevant. The headline is going to be what you said about making your customer a hero in their business. So when I go through and I transcribe it, I will pull that out. That will be the headline. You're an absolute legend. Thank you so much for your time, Robbie.
I love you to bits. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend. And yeah, I'll end on this bit. Even though I remember it, that I am now going to find more opportunities to speak to customers because that's what sales is about. Thank you very much, and I hope we speak soon.
It's been the greatest of pleasures. And maybe in 3, 4, 5 months, we'll do another one of these if that's cool.
That'd be fantastic.
I love you to bits too, Robbie. Thank you so much, man.
Power to you, power to the people.
Okay, so we'll cut the recording then. Oh, he's gone already.